Good afternoon, guys. Friday afternoon. It's a little after 3 o'clock. I'm sorry I'm very late today, but Mrs. P and I had to run into town, do some stuff there. Of course, it's inevitable, run into one of y'all. So it was funny. Somebody at the parking lot said, "Love your channel." I was like, "Thanks." So that was kind of cool. And then, of course, we stopped at the gas station near home. And, of course, I ran into another one of you guys. So it's kind of fun, but it always catches me off guard. It's interesting. And then, of course, now we're in the middle of this storm and my power has been flickering on and off, so which is driving me nuts trying to research this story. And then I was also on the phone with one of y'all for the better part of 45 minutes discussing how to get my solar setup going. And I think we finally got this figured out. So for all of those of you who have helped me with bits and pieces of information and everything like that, I think we finally got it all put together and I understand what I got to do. So thank you. But that's not what I want to talk about. This is some serious stuff. Okay. If you guys are familiar with U.S. Air Command, okay, or U.S. Air Mobility Command, basically this is the Army's, the Air Force, how we move stuff, okay? Whether it's moving troops, moving cargo, moving fuel, whatever would be, all right? And when I'm talking about planes, some of you guys will understand which ones we're talking. The aircraft that Air Mobility Command runs are C-17 Globemaster 3s, KC-135 Stratotankers, and C-130 Hercules, okay? These are the big boys, okay? This is the one where you're putting boatloads of troops or boatloads of vehicles, boatloads of equipment, or fuel for refueling fighter jets or refueling other planes midair. Well, this is where it's getting very interesting because Strategic Air Command is, or Air Mobility, I guess, if you will, is taking the markings off of the planes, okay, the tail numbers, whether or not they're taking the American flag off, okay, but they're trying to disguise the planes. And of course, DOD and the Pentagon is going, well, it's not really a big deal. It's pretty obvious they're Air Force planes, okay? Now, I want to give you this. Let's take a look at what other countries use these specific planes. The KC-135 Stratotanker. Chile uses it, France uses it, Turkey uses it, and we use it. Okay, so it's not just a U.S. plane. Let's take a look at the C-17s, okay, the Globemasters. Australia, Canada, India, Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE, the UK, and the United States. Okay, again, it's obviously an American plane. It's not obviously being particularly flown by Americans. All right, so let's get into the C-130s, all those C-130s, right? Here's the list of countries that uses a C-130. I'm going to go through this. Algeria, Angola, Botswana, Cameroon, Chad, Egypt, Ethiopia, Gabon, Libya, Morocco, Niger, Nigeria, South Africa, Sudan, Tunisia, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Taiwan, India, Indonesia, Iran, Iraq, Israel, Japan, Jordan, Kuwait, Malaysia, North Yemen, Oman, Pakistan, Philippines, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Thailand, the UAE, Yemen, Austria, Denmark, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Sweden, Turkey, the UK, Canada, Honduras, Mexico, and the US. And we're going to take the tail markings off of these planes, so it's not known as to whether or not it is a U.S. plane. Now, I'm going to give you this. Right now, all three of those planes are ferrying God knows what to Ukraine. Okay, this is how all this military equipment's going over. It's not a slow boat to Ukraine that's going. This is going via plane. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and this is what's going on. But this is where it gets even more interesting with all of this. Anybody know the name Christine Warmuth? Christine Warmuth is the U.S. Army Secretary, okay? Her quote this week, the U.S. must prepare to win a future war with China. Okay? Now, you guys remember the comment, oh, what was it, maybe about 2 weeks ago, where Mike Minihan, who ironically happens to be the head of Air Mobility Command, which I just told you about here, okay, says his gut tells us that we're going to be at war with China by 2025. Okay? In talking to Secretary Warmuth, all right, not me personally, but okay, in her interview, all right, her quotes, okay, if we got into a major war with China, the United States homeland would be at risk as well, okay, with both kinetic attacks and non-kinetic attacks. Whether it's cyber attacks on the power grids or the pipelines, the U.S. Army, I have no doubt, will be called to provide the defense support to civilian authorities. Can you say martial law? All right, that's it. Question. When asked if the American public could sustain the level of casualties that would come with the war with China, she said they could, just like we did in World War II. Air Mobility Command, the general in charge, says he expects a war with China. What he is over is now taking the markings off of a plane to hide the fact that they are American. Okay? And you have the Army Secretary coming up and saying that, yes, a war with China is very possible. Now, in other things that are going on, it's being floated around that it's not China that's going to declare war on the U.S., it's the U.S. that's going to declare war on China. Remember, Joe needs a war, okay? And I'm not trying to fearmonger anybody here. I'm telling you what's going on so you can prepare accordingly and not be caught blindsided when you wake up one morning and go, there's a headline right there in front of you. Why would we be taking the markings off of those planes? Gee, I don't know. It might have nothing to do with Ukraine. It might have everything to do with Taiwan. Not that we'd be flying troops or equipment into Taiwan, but let's say we're flying troops into South Korea, into Japan, into Indonesia, into the Philippines, into anything that's in the South Pacific. So we have a ready-made group of troops already in theater so that something can go. All right? I listed all those companies or all those countries that use a C-130. If a plane comes flying by and it doesn't have any tail number on it, okay, it's a little more difficult to track. It's not exactly terrible. You guys all know Monkey Works. I mean, Monkey Works track, you can track a fly, coming off a pile of dog shit in the backyard. But now you start watching all of this. Well, gee, does that make it now that maybe the Chinese don't know it's a U.S. plane taking troops to Japan? Maybe they think, well, it could be an Aussie plane taking Kiwis to Japan. Who knows? Okay, whatever would be. This is something very, very serious and very important to pay attention to, because it doesn't come as any surprise that you have Minihan saying this a couple of weeks ago, and then all of a sudden taking action with the unit in which he has total control. He is the commanding general, okay, of Air Mobility Command. They're not going to take the identification markers off a plane without his approval or without his suggestion going up further to, I don't know, maybe the Joint Chiefs? What's going on? And when you have the Army Secretary talking about war with China as well, this is something that we really need to be ready for. Eyes open, head on a swivel, pay attention to what's going on, guys, and prep your damn ass off. Pinball out.